What's up, everybody? This is Baka&Co. I'm Frankfurter, that is Magically Average, and today we will be talking about anime recommendations in regards to basically how often do you read recommendations, how often do you watch recommendations,
What a
and
start.
I know I've got manga on the mind instead of anime right now because I got through a bunch of books, but no, we're gonna be talking about like how often you actually watch recommended anime to you, or how often you actually have to give recommendations to people. So to kind of just hop straight into it, I think you and I have recommended a handful of shows like after the fact, not watching like season to season, because season to season, we before each season we go over what's coming out, what we would recommend watching or what we're going to watch, etc., and what the sleeper might be for the season. Generally
Right.
we'll recommend shows like, we'll watch an episode, be like, if you didn't watch this, you should watch this, this is good, this wasn't good, etc., etc. Outside of that, you and I have recommended like a handful of shows to each other, but not like a huge sum, I feel like, to each other, because a lot really we're watching like season to season, and that's what we recommend to each other. I think the only one that I've gone back to from a previous season to go watch that you've recommended was Remake Our Lives, which was a good show.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, generally speaking, I feel like I do a lot more recommending than I watch a lot of recommended. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I mean, we're in a different boat though, that we have a podcast, so we're on top of all of the new anime that are releasing. We've got our, I guess, we got our fingertip on the pulse of what's going to be coming out too in terms of manga that we're reading as well. So I we're a different breed.
Is that
We're
what we
fucking
are?
built. We're built different.
Oh God, I hate you.
That I mean, and I was taking the recommendation piece to be like, to include also watching titles that you just constantly are fed through social media and general advertising and whatnot too, because that's becoming more and more prevalent here in the United States. Is, you're just seeing, as we talked about last week, I think it was last week, the different influences manga has on other areas within the market. So it's like, you walk down and you see a clothing store, not a Hot Topic or a Box Lunch, okay, but like just a random clothing store, and it's like, oh, they'll have like manga merch or something. Or you'll see a poster about a new movie coming out, and it's surprise, surprise, it's anime related or something like that. So you can get influenced in that way too, and then sometimes you just are like, you know what, I keep seeing this show called My Hero Academia or Attack on Titan or whatever. I think I'm gonna give it a try. It wasn't like that before. Before it was like you knew of a handful through the small friend group that watched anime and stayed up late on Saturday nights on Toonami,
Yeah.
right? Like that was most of where like the recommendations came from. It wasn't until later on where you started to get the streaming sites and everything where you're like, oh, I found this one or I found that one. But yeah, I mean, to what you were saying though, most of the time I will, if I guess before the podcast, really, if I was looking for something to watch, I would just stumble upon something. I didn't really go out and search for like what's the best isekai currently out there. Like I randomly found Overlord. Like I was not looking for
Oh, I'm sorry
an,
about
an
that.
isekai. Shut your hole. I like wasn't through recommendations, wasn't through any sort of like online search. I just found this anime that was an isekai, and it had a similar premise ish to Sword Art Online, which I'd already watched, and I was like, cool, I wonder what this take's going to be, and I loved it. And then I stumbled upon Dead Man Wonderland, and I loved it. And I stumbled upon Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, and I loved it. So a lot of the times too, it's, you'll find like these hit gems, and they're hidden gems for you. Maybe for other people, they're like, "Bah, duh, you've never seen Don Machi?
How
You've never
dare you?
seen, yeah, well, bah, you call yourself a fan?" Like, there's always going to be those people, but like sometimes you just find what you consider to be like the hidden gem of anime, and then it sort of steamrolls from there. So I don't normally take recommendations. There's only been a few, both in anime and manga, where I've heard someone or someone's just been like, you have to give it a try. Like you have to just give it a couple episode watch, or just read the first couple of chapters and just, see for yourself. And I'll do that. Like I'm reading one of the series right now, the teleworking series, which is a manga online,
Mhm.
and it was a recommendation from our other co-host Element, and I think he just like said it was like, oh, he's like really really good. Like if you're into
Slice of life.
romance, slice of life, like this is top tier. And I'm like, well, speaking my language now. And yeah, no, it's great. Same thing with Witch Hat Atelier, or Atelier, or however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
That was a recommendation from Element, and I've fallen in love with that one as well. My anime, I don't. You got me to get back into Attack on Titan. I will never forgive you for that.
Hey, you made me watch Overlord, so
No one made you watch anything. I said I like Overlord.
Lobo would have fucking killed me if I didn't.
He's still going to.
Yeah, he probably will one day.
But yeah, I mean, there hasn't been like a lot of. Most of the anime I watch is just like, if we're doing it for a review episode or whatever, it's like let's watch this one, and I'm like, sure, I've never seen it, whatever. It's never been something where I'm like, I'm in the need for an anime, give me something to watch. I'm always like, nope, I'm gonna find it myself, and I don't care if it's how obscure it is or how mainstream it is. I'm just gonna figure out what I'm feeling like. There's been a few that you've watched that I've picked up. Like I picked up Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid like way early on when I first joined the podcast. I started watching that, and then I got into Kaguya-sama as well because you had talked about it a lot too. But I mean, you didn't really ever recommend them. It was always just like, I'm watching this, and you reference it a lot, and I'm like, I probably should pick that up. It sounds interesting enough.
Yeah, like speaking of references and everything else, like from you or just real world, I think I was pressured more so because of you, but also because I don't remember, like I don't understand all the real world jokes about it that I just see and everything. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I had known about it for so long. I just never read it. I had never watched it. I was like, I just know that these are jokes and what the kind of small context of what the jokes are. And then I watched it all, and it was fantastic, and it was great. And I was like, cool, I'm in on the jokes now. This makes sense now. This is great. I think it's a lovely series. Do I think it's the best series in the world? No, but it's fantastic. It's still a lot of fun, but it's not the best thing. I think going back to recommendations though, like when I first started not rewatching, but like when I first started getting back into anime back in like my senior year of college, I had a buddy, my buddy Garrett, he would just recommend different shows to me, be like, hey, start with this, go to this, go to this, go to this. So I started with like Cowboy Bebop, absolutely loved it. And he, for my birthday, like senior year, like after like going into that summer, he got me the Blu-ray set for Cowboy Bebop. Loved it.
Bro love.
Yep. But after that, he recommended like No Game, No Life. He recommended Lelouch the Revolution, Code Geass, and like Death Note, etc. Like all the ones, like the big ones that you would recommend to somebody, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, etc. So it's like I watched those, like, starting out being like, hey, I need something good, just get me in the door, and then I can take it from there. And then I've watched just a shit ton since then. So I know that that's been sort of like the really only time that I take recommendations. I'll go online into like random discords that I'm in, like bigger discords that I don't really know anybody, I'll be like, hey, here's my list, what would somebody else recommend? And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good. I think, funny enough, our buddy Sam, who's usually in the live chat when we record these and in our server, he recommended a show that I had watched maybe the first 2 to 3 episodes, and it was like, because I had asked, I was like, hey, I want to get into older shows to kind of balance out that repertoire of like anime knowledge. What's an older show like from either the 90s or 2000s that you would recommend? And I think it was called like Recca of the Flame or some shit like that, and it was god awful. It hurt. It hurt so bad. Like it had
I
just
mean,
not aged pretty at all. But then
it's old
there,
anime.
yeah. But then there are others that I know that he's recommended. I don't remember off the top of my. He recommended Inuo, the movie that we watched for review. But I know he's recommended other shows to me that I've gone and watched and really enjoyed. But yeah, I feel like more so nowadays, like I'll recommend shows to my buddy Toe. And he'll just be like, "Hey, have you heard of this series? What do you think? Have you heard of this series? What do you think?" More so, he'll bring it to me, and I'll be like, "Yes, do watch this," or "No, don't watch this." And so, like, I'll get whenever I tell him, "Yes, do watch this," I'll get like random updates like a month later, being like, "Dude, you were right about this show," or "Oh my god, what the hell's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that'll happen." But yeah, I don't know. I really don't often take recommendations nowadays. I feel like the only reason I would is because I watch a lot of dubs during like while I work from home, because I'll listen to it while I'm working. And so I'll be like, "Hey, what dub should I watch next?" And in which like people will recommend shows I've either seen or the usual Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, etc., larger shows like that, which
Mm.
I stray away from. I think the last show like that I got recommended and I actually fell in love with, that I loved, was Link Click. I know I'm terrible at pronouncing, but it's Link, Link Click, which is actually a Chinese show, and or Chinese anime. 11 episodes long. Season 2's coming out some point this year. Phenomenal show. It was one of those things that handful of people in this one server were like, "You gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it." I'm like, you know what? I'm out of shows to watch right now. I will watch it. Let me see how it is. And it was absolutely incredible. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I know that that's kind of like just like such a niche kind of show, but to like recommend to somebody blanketly, but I do highly suggest it if you do like kind of a sci-fi type show. But
Yeah, most of the time when it comes to recommendations too, it's harder for me when it's newer anime, only because we've got just a laundry list of anime that come out each season. So out of like the 70 plus whatever shows that come out each season, I'll pick up maybe 12. I'll finish maybe 5 and have to come back to the other 7, and then people are like, "Oh, you got to watch this one. You got to watch this one." And I'm so burnt cuz I'm like, I'm already on the next season, man.
mm-hmm.
I am not going back. Like I don't have time. Like I just it recommendations are so hard these days too, I feel like, because depending on the type of person you are, when I watch a show, I don't mind weekly. I can also sit down and binge, but finding time is so hard now that like for me to watch a recommendation from someone, it has to be like episode 1 is 100 out of 10 for me to stick with it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna sit down and watch something that you've recommended, it better blow my ass off. Like it cannot be a really shitty opening. It can't like miss a step by any means. Like it's gotta hook me. Cause I mean, for me, like I know what I like, and I would like to think too that my interests or the genres that I enjoy are very diverse too. So because I'm not just stuck with slice of life or shonen action style or mystery thriller, whatever it might be. Like I'm pretty much all over the board. So I like to mix it around every season. But for someone to come in and be like, you have to watch this slice of life, it's like, all right, well, it better not suck. Otherwise, I'm going to hate you for the rest of my life because I've wasted 22 minutes
Yeah.
on this piece of shit.
It's
And I've
like,
got 20 other that I'm watching currently as well. I don't have time for this
yeah.
nonsense.
Like there are guilty pleasures that like I absolutely thought were just hilarious in premise that I stuck with, that I'm just like, you know what? I could never recommend this show to anybody because it's the dumbest shit ever, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. And like there to put into perspective, the show that I'm really referencing right now, this is the dumbest show. Like they'll make a show about anything. I watched a show called Fastest Finger first, just based off the title because I thought it was hilarious. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It is basically just about quiz show. It's like a quiz show study group. Basically, kids go into like not debates, but like debates, but quizzes. Like it's basically the faster you could push the button to answer the question.
Yes, we get it.
So
We understand.
it's the dumbest premise ever to a show, but it's fantastic. It was just like I enjoyed this through and through, but there's no way in fucking shit I am ever recommending this to anybody ever because it is just so niche and so weird and out there that it's just like, no, I'm good. Like I'm not going to recommend this, but like I don't know. Do you have like a niche show that you absolutely love that you would just never recommend like that?
Uh, that's God. It's
I
so
know
hard.
that just came out of nowhere, I realized, but like
Yeah, I'm trying to think through because I had not watched as many anime as you have, so it's much more limited in that regard.
because there's like that, and
Um,
there's also another one that's called After School Dice Club, where it's just about a bunch of like cute girls that play board games after school and are into like just board games, and that was pretty cool to watch. But it's also just very, very, very niche. So it's
yeah.
just it's kind of weird that there are those shows though that I do absolutely love that I would just never recommend. I may actually recommend though that board game one to you just because I know you personally and how much you love board games. So I think like you really have to know the person in order to recommend super niche things like that.
Well, and I think for us though, it goes even beyond that because, like, I have a number of friends who watch anime, but they don't watch anime like how we do,
Yeah.
right? Like, I not to be sound like the most like
Pretentious
nerdy
person.
we no, not pretentious, but like this is gonna make me sound like all I am and breathe is anime and manga. I just if I'm watching TV and it's not live sports, I'm normally watching anime. I rarely watch regular like sitcoms or regular like what are they called like the survivor type shows like where it's like the real people and action and whatnot, or I don't watch game shows and all that shit. Like if I sit down to spend my time watching a show, normally it's anime or it's another series that I'm enjoying, like The Mandalorian or other Western style animation shows. Like my fiance and I watch Bob's Burgers and we watch The Great North, and I watch Disenchantment on Netflix. Like, I spend my time watching the shows that I like. So if someone were to recommend to me, like, hey, if you like The Mandalorian, you're gonna love this show, then I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll probably give that a try then. But if someone's like, hey, you like anime, you should watch this, I'm like, no, I'm gonna stop you right there. I watch enough anime to know what I like and what I don't like. And you are someone who maybe watches like one new anime a year. I'm probably not going to take your opinion. Like, again, not to be an asshole and not to sound pretentious, I guess this is, I guess, where the pretentious piece comes in. But like, I'm likely not going to humor your recommendation only because either A, I've already seen it, or B, I know of it and I just am not interested in it.
Yeah.
Like if you in the rare case you tell me one and it's in my wheelhouse of like because I don't want people to be like, oh man, if you like anime you have to watch this one from 1994. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm not going to spend my time. Like I have seen older anime. I know the quality of it. I do not have the patience nor the time to sit through that old shit. Okay, I don't care how, if it's a staple of the anime world, I really don't give a shit anymore. Like, I'm going to watch what I like. If in 20 years time when I'm a rich shithead that has hours upon hours to spend, likely never going to happen, but if it does for some godforsaken reason happens to me and I'm blessed to just be able to sit on my ass all day and watch anime, then yeah, sure, I'll have my robot butlers come and feed me as I watch through my 20th anime of the week. Okay,
I
but
feel
for now
I feel slightly called out minus the rich part because I watch a shit ton of dubs and I just watched all of Inuyasha.
Oh, you're not being called out because you listen to it, don't you, Frank? Because you don't watch anime while you work. You listen to it,
Yeah, that's true. I
right,
do. I
Frank?
do. I do listen to a lot of it. I don't really watch. No, I do watch a lot of it, but I do
Yeah,
listen
we all do.
mostly.
You do. But okay, but that's all just to say though that I mean, and I'm not saying that if one of my friends comes up and goes, "Oh my gosh, I have an anime and I want you to," I go, "Let me stop you right there, fucknut. You can shut up because I ain't listening to your BS. I am the anime man. I know what is anime and you don't. So hush."
Hey,
Like I
fuck
don't do
that.
that.
You should watch season 2 of The Promised Neverland.
No, that is one thing I know to avoid. When season 3 comes out, I'll watch it.
God damn it, I hate you.
Uh, but it like I'll listen and I'll be like, yeah, if maybe I've seen it, maybe I've not, maybe I know about it, whatever. But what I do though with my friends is like if like I have a couple of like I said, I have a couple of friends that watch anime just casually, and they'll tell me what they like, and I'm like, oh, if you like this, I think you'd like this. It's not a you should watch. It's I think you'd like. Like
Mhm.
here is what it's called. Like my buddy loves Trigun, and he's watching the new Trigun Stampede, and he's like, I want to watch like something else kind of the same. And I was like, oh, if you like Trigun, you like that kind of style, because I think he's seen Cowboy Bebop and stuff. I'm like, try
Samurai
Sabakui Bisco.
Champloo? Oh.
No, I was
Yeah.
like, try Bisco.
Disco would be
Try
good.
Bisco. It's pretty out there. It's pretty quirky. It's very anime.
Yeah.
It's got like a very interesting style to it. The character designs are really interesting. The world is very interesting. Like, it's got some elements that one could draw to Trigun-esque. Yet
Yeah.
nothing's like any like that's another thing too that I hate when people are like, it's like, oh, if you like this, you have to like this anime. It's like no two anime are the same. Okay, you can say all you want about slice of life, and how everything is the same. It's just different main character and a different girl that teases the different boy, and they're at a different school, and there's one weird, slight nuance that makes them all unique. It's like, you know what? Fine, if you want to look at it in that view, sure. You know what? They're all the same, but I appreciate a lot of the different aspects of it, and you can draw differences between slice of life. Like if I watch Miss Kobayashi, I'm not gonna recommend it to someone who's into BL stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's just like there's plenty of differences.
Just know your audience when you are recommending something. I
Yeah.
will say, like, in with that kind of topic, you and I and Drew and Element to an extent, when we do our recordings for our review podcasts, I mean, we both pretty much have to basically go off of like, hey, I recommend we watch this or that. I think there's a difference though between watching a recommended show by a friend casually and a recommended show for review, because I know that I've recommended multiple shows for review that I've rewatched it and I've been more critical about my review for it, and I've either dropped or, usually dropped the grading of what I gave it when I first watched it, because when I watch a show when I'm not reviewing it, it's kind of more passively. I'm not paying attention to detail. I'm not paying super close attention to pacing, etc. I'm more so enjoying the ride rather than it for review. I am paying attention to more plot holes, pacing, character arcs, etc. So when it comes to reviews, like, how critical are you compared to when you are just watching something for just, based off a blanket recommendation?
I don't think, I mean, my opinion doesn't change between recommendation, review, or me finding it on my own. Like, my stance will remain the same no matter no matter the means at which I come about watching the anime. I will say though that there have been a number of anime that have been recommended by you for our review that if you had recommended to me just in general, I would have gone out of my way to come and visit you and castrated you on site.
I'm assuming you're referring to Blood Battlefront
Just
Blockade.
screamed, you will not procreate
BBB.
for the rest of time. BBB, there was also that fucking shitty ass school one where they had the
Baka and Test.
God, that one was ass. Like you've had some real stinkers.
Yeah, that's true. I've had some stinkers, but I've also had some good ones, like The Night is Young, Walk On Girl. Like that movie, I think is absolutely phenomenal and something that's super underrated. But again, it's something that's super niche and super out there that I wouldn't blanket recommend it to people, but to crazy anime viewers like you and me and, you know, other guests, etc., that we have on the show, I would definitely recommend it to them because it is so unique and different and out there that it breaks the norm of what you've been watching.
Yeah. I
But
mean, and again, like for us, there's different reasons that we watch anime. It's either it's most of the time it's for just personal reasons. We just enjoy the show or we want to try something different or whatever. Sometimes it's for review purposes and sometimes it's just to say fuck it. Whatever, we'll give it a shot. Um but yeah, I mean, whenever I go into grading something, my opinion won't change if it's even if it's something that I found. I'm not going to be like, well, I guess I can get past this and this and not view it in a critical lens just because I found it. I don't want to feel like a dumbass for wasting my own time. But it is more challenging though, I would say, to recommend shows nowadays just because the amount of anime we're getting, you know, on a quarterly basis, so every season
mhm,
is just grown exponentially over years to where it's like you don't really have to recommend to something anymore.
yeah,
There's going to be an anime for you out there somewhere. We talked about that too on a previous podcast where it's like even if you're not big into anime, if you ever want to give it a shot and you want something very very nuanced, like very specific, whether it's a hobby, an interest, a sport you like, whatever it might be, there is an anime out there. Whether it's good or bad is going to be up to you to determine, but like there is something out there. If you're into water polo or ice hockey, hey, they have animes for Frank and I. If you're into uh anime about making sweets,
yep,
there's an anime called Daimon Recipe for Happiness. If you're into watching mechanized hippos run around and a giant crab scurry through the desert, there's an anime for you there too. Like the library has become almost like this endless like void of just if you could search it, you'll find it. It's out there. So you don't really have to go into recommendations. You might, and again, if you're like me, you might just be scrolling through the endless libraries of the streaming sites and go, oh, this one just sounds interesting, or read the synopsis and go, oh, that seems like something I could get into. And then bang, you've just stumbled upon an anime that you enjoy, and no one had to go out of their way and be like, you know what I think you should watch based on your preferences. You found it on your own. And you can give your little self a pat on the back and go from there. But yeah, I think I don't want to be bold and say like the days of recommending shows are over, but it is becoming less of a norm now to be like, hey, I have a show I want to recommend. It's more like, you either find it or you stumble upon it or you're just fed it through social media or whatnot that you're just like, fine, fuck, God, I'll watch it. Jesus. Like
yeah,
with JoJo's, like I can't tell you how many times I've heard and seen online people talk about how they see references or they're like, what the fuck is this trend with the to be continued? And they play like Roundabout by Yes. Like, where the shit is that coming from? And they're like, oh my God, I understand it now. I watch JoJo's and I get it. Like, there's so many different like memes and shit out there that's from JoJo's where people are just like, what the hell is this? And then they watch it and they're like, I get it now. I am one with the meme. I understand. So it's a different world that we
yeah,
live in now. Like again, growing up, I was like, you weren't fed anything really. Like I found watching late night cartoons on Toonami, Bleach and Foolie Cooley and Cowboy Bebop and Bobo 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 Bo and Samurai Champloo and like all these different
good
anime,
old
Naruto, One
Bobobo.
Piece. Love Bobo Bo.
I haven't heard that. I
Um,
haven't heard that show in a while. I do need to. I would
what
like
a
to go back and
fantastic one.
rewatch that show.
That shit was goofy
It was
as
fucking.
hell.
That's anime as anime.
He fought with his nose hair.
Yes, he did. It was glorious.
Yeah.
But to round out
But
the
like
conversation,
there's like yeah, like you just Times are different. Go
Yeah.
out there. The moral of the story is go out there, just put on a random search. You'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah, and to round out the conversation, I was going to say we've talked about this in the past, so we won't dwell on it too long. There are blanket shows that, it's like, hey, I'm getting into anime. I want to watch something, like, what would you recommend? Without even knowing them, like, there are those animes that you could just recommend because it's a good time. Like, Spy
Yeah.
Family's kind of become that anime for, like, newer generations. Like, it used to be, hey, go watch Cowboy Bebop, or hey, go watch Death Note, because they are pretty compelling stories. I know Death Note you're not a huge fan of, but I mean,
Eh.
to be fair, it is a decently compelling story. But now I feel like Spy Family has been like a normal show that you could just go out and just be like, yes, watch this show, it's great. Without like too much fanfare out there of like, oh, this is too weird, you know? But
Yeah.
I don't know, like, what other shows, I guess, I mean, would you just stick to Spy Family and Cowboy Bebop for blanket recommendations, or is there something like else that you would kind of just recommend?
Um, I think it depends on preferences too. If someone were to just be like, "I'm new to anime," and that's all you want to, that's all I'm going to tell you. I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, Spy Family, Cowboy Bebop." Um, I would honestly say Full Metal Alchemist. I think, to be
Yeah.
fair, I think that one's probably either one for all you fucking homeboys out there. Either one works. Okay, they're both beautiful in their own ways.
E-
Talking about Full Metal Alchemist and then Brotherhood. Um, but then I mean, if someone's like, "Hey, I like watching shows similar to," or like I like watching superhero stuff, so I watch all of the DC stuff, like Flash and Arrow, and I watch like The Boys, and I watch all Invincible. Then I'd be like, okay, try My Hero Academia. It's not gonna be as intense, but it's superhero based. It's a superhero world. Um, Shy's coming out at some point. I
God, I'm
hope.
so excited for that.
Go Go Loser Rangers coming out real soon. Actually, I think.
Is that
You can
summer?
get. I think so. Maybe I don't know.
I'll look it up.
But you can get specific, right? Or if it's like, someone could be goofy and just be like, you know what? I kind of like. I like Gordon Ramsay. I like watching cooking stuff. I like diner drive-ins and dives, whatever. With the what the fuck is his name? Spiky hair, flame shirt dude.
Oh yeah, Guy Fieri,
Yeah, thank you.
Fieri, or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Whatever. Yeah, Guy Fieri. Be like, cool. Food Wars, easy one.
Oh
Like,
Jesus,
sweet.
fuck!
you know?
No.
Yeah, Food Wars. What's wrong with that? There's nothing like sexual about it or anything. It's just food. Duh. You're
Yeah,
getting all worked
I
up
think
for it.
one of the other
But like,
ones. Oh, go for it.
well, I was just gonna say, like, what the nice thing is that if you are into anime, um, or you watch a little bit of it, but you have a very specific preference on what you're looking for, there is a recommendation out there for you. Or you can just take the steps and go look for it yourself. Like, it's a massive, massive library out there now. Thanks to streaming services, thanks to Crunchyroll, High Dive, Netflix, Hulu. It's really just like whatever you're looking for. I'm 99% positive you're gonna be able to find something like it.
Yeah, I think the last show that I would probably recommend blanketly would be like, hey, you want a little bit of goofiness to your anime, but like you want a really good, compelling story. I think The Great Pretender and Odd Taxi, those two shows are phenomenal. Odd Taxi, I know you love and you'll sing the praises to that every day, but like Great Pretender was a Netflix show that kind of came out to just like almost no hype whatsoever. It just kind of came out and it was there. And you either watched it or more than likely you didn't watch it. I absolutely loved it because it was like a heist movie through and through. There was 2 seasons of it and they had multiple arcs per season, and it was just like a giant heist and it was a ton of fun. So I don't know. Yeah, again, I agree that there are some shows that you could just blanket recommend, but most likely it's like, hey, get their preferences, then kind of go through your list of what's, how weird do you think they can go, and just recommend something based off of what they like in the past. But yeah, so all said and done, we don't really watch too many recommended shows outside of what we recommend to each other that's going on in the season currently. and also just we recommend it based off the people who are asking. Definitely get like their judgment of what they like first before, what their favorite things are before you're like, okay, watch this. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
And if you
that's
recommend something to us and we don't like it, we're gonna blacklist you. You'll never ever get to recommend anything to us ever again.
if anybody ever mentions to us to watch Tomodachi Game, I will literally block you everywhere I can physically find you. So, and with
Pretty
that,
sure we already had that online.
yeah. But with that, thank you all for joining us this week. We greatly appreciate it. We will be back, or I will be back next week, question mark. I don't know if I will be back next week, just for the fact that I will be traveling this weekend for your wedding and you will be out of town. So we may not have a show next week, but the week after we will definitely, or I will definitely have a show with a guest. So until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.